0345 6060 973.
4:32 the time. Tom Swarbrick here on LBC. Next.
It's highly probable that Trump will try and withdraw the United States from NATO. And he's already setting preconditions that will justify it.
He was, under the first Trump term, his national security advisor. Ambassador John Bolton is here to take your calls on LBC until 5 o'clock. Thank you very much, Steve, for coming on the programme, Ambassador. It's very good to see you.
Glad to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Let's start where we've been starting this hour, which is the situation in Ukraine. The comments of Steve Witkoff, the Trump chief negotiator, who suggests that Starmer's idea of putting UK-EU coalition of the willing on the ground is too simplistic. Charlie's in Goole on that to kick us off. Charlie, you're through to Ambassador Bolton.
Hiya there, matey. Will Trump and the cabinet do everything that is necessary to ensure a lasting peace between Russia and Ukraine? And what can Keir Starmer and Europe do to help?
Good question. Ambassador, first of all, when was the last time you were called matey?
It's not too long ago. I know a lot of Australians.
Great. Okay, great. Right, let's get on to the serious matter then of how lasting peace can be brought to Ukraine and the role that EU and UK can play in this.
Well, I don't think there's any prospect of a truly lasting peace as long as Putin and people who think like him are in control of the Russian government. This is not simply a one-off attack on Ukraine. We know the Russians invaded first, obviously, in 2014, reflecting what Putin had said going back as far as 2005. In effect, he wants to recreate the Russian Empire. And until we realize that, finding a way to have stability between Ukraine and Russia really is a fool's errand. I think it's a mistake for Ukraine to agree to a ceasefire. I think it's going to get nibbled to death. They lost 7, 8, 9% of their country in 2014. They've lost up to 20% in this war, admittedly at an extraordinary human cost to Russia. But I don't think the Kremlin's going to stop, at least under this regime, until that percentage comes close to 100.
That's a stark contrast with what Steve Witkoff was telling Tucker Carlson the other day, which is Putin doesn't want to take Ukraine, they can't hold on to it, and certainly they don't want to threaten Europe at all. NATO's there to protect them. What does he not see that you do, apparently, John?
Well, I think Witkoff may be an outstanding real estate developer in Manhattan, but that doesn't qualify him to do what he's doing now. I think the idea that he can go and talk to Putin in the Kremlin and see what's really going on is a delusion. I think he's being used as an instrument of Russian propaganda, as is Tucker Carlson. I think the two of them probably had a great time. And I think if people really want to see what is on Trump's mind, listen to that whole interview, because that is what is being fed directly into Trump's brain and explains a lot of what he's doing.
But did you see any of that? I don't know, not pro-Russian, but any of that kind of that Trump's mind, Trump's thinking towards Russia when you were dealing with this issue of US-Russia relations when you were in the White House? Because you were pretty cautious towards President Putin. Did you, when that message tried to get home with President Trump, did it land at all?
No, it didn't. Look, he thinks he and Putin are friends. He thinks he and Xi Jinping are friends. He said of Kim Jong-un of North Korea in his first term, he said, "We fell in love." That's how he thinks of international relations. If he has good relations with Vladimir Putin, then the U.S. has good relations with Russia. That's simply not true. These hard men know what they want for their country. We don't agree with it, but they know what they want. And Trump doesn't understand what's at stake, and certainly Witkoff doesn't either.
And so the idea of Starmer's force being too simplistic, or the coalition, the willing, being too simplistic, you would say, what, John? It's necessary, perhaps?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think people thought it through well enough. It's not clear to me that they really understood they had a choice between two different kinds of missions. If you look at UN peacekeeping forces, for example, was this going to be a force that resisted breaches of the ceasefire? That is to say, a force that would conduct military operations against Russia if they broke it? Or would it be like a UN force that simply watches it happen and reports back to headquarters? And it seems like they're not going to make that choice because now they're not going to put boots on the ground.
03456060973 is the number to get your question to Ambassador John Bolton, here with us until 5 o'clock. You can also watch us on Global Player, and if you do watch us on Global Player, you might understand what one of my questions is going to be about regarding the pictures framed behind the Ambassador. Sean's in Heathfield. Hi.